As long as you're in a world run by cats, you will always be in danger. It's not about safety or danger, it's about illusion and realizing both come at a cost. You guys, I love it. But I'd be lying to you if I said that I was not annoyed by the first 30 to 40 minutes of this movie. Let me just say that I watched ChainsawMan when it came out back in 2022, and I rewatched it in the 2 days before watching the movie in theaters. I love it, but I would be lying to you guys if I said I wasn't annoyed. Like, very annoyed by the first 30 to 40 minutes of the movie. Quick side note, I am assuming that we've all seen season 1, so I just want to point out spoilers for the movie specifically, but if you saw the trailers, then the trailer spoiled the movie or the reveal. So soft spoiler warning, because I will be talking about elements that the trailers revealed. If you haven't seen the trailers, then pause this video, go watch the movie, and then come back to this video. Now back to the first 30 to 40 minutes of this movie. I wasn't looking at my watch, but I was literally leaning over to my honey telling him that I was waiting for her to blow him up so that things could just get started. Now, if you're like me and you wanted to see things blow up and action, or maybe you just weren't that impressed with the movie, let it marinate, y'all. There is so much more going on. So let's talk about it. Chainsaw Man faces his deadliest battle yet in a brutal war between devils, hunters, and secret enemies. I'm going to keep this section short and as spoiler-free as possible, while also trying to articulate what I love most about this movie. So we talked about my feelings briefly, and actually we're just going to stay in my feelings because I want to talk about what everyone else is talking about, and with good reason: the country mouse and the city mouse. Chainsaw Man has always brought up this conversation: is a simple and safe life better than a dangerous life of luxury? But RezeArc, woo! This movie approaches it so clearly, so on the nose, and incredibly well. Aesop's fable, The Country Mouse and the City Mouse, tells the story of two mice living very different lives. The country mouse enjoys a simple, peaceful existence with modest food and quiet surroundings. When he visits his cousin in the city, he is dazzled by the fancy feast laid out before him, but terrified when danger suddenly appears. In the end, the country mouse decides he'd rather have safe and simplicity than luxury that comes with constant fear. The more I think about this, the more I love it, and the more I love how this movie subverts this fable by really delivering a bleak message: the brutal reality of this world, and showing us how that safety is an illusion. The country mouse isn't any safer than the city mouse, because as long as you're in a world run by cats, you will always be in danger. You guys, I love it. It's not about safety or danger, it's about illusion and realizing both come at a cost. This is the point in the episode where we talk about potential triggers, and if you're familiar with Chainsaw Man, then you already know what you're getting into. But if you're unfamiliar, RezeArc is going to have a lot of blood and brutal action. There's dismemberment, decapitation, and graphic injuries from chainsaws, explosions, and more. There's also body horror, think transformation, and gory monster devil creatures, plus mass casualties, torture, and cruelty. Moving on to sexual and suggestive content, and the point in this anime where I stay rolling my eyes. There is partial nudity, full nudity involving teens, including a skinny dipping scene, but there's nothing explicit or details shown. But it's still teens skinny dipping in a pool. Honestly, the movie just continues Chainsaw Man's usual sexual themes involving younger characters, plus a few moments of provocative or suggestive imagery. Beyond the violence and the fan service, the movie also gets into some heavier themes, including child experimentation, manipulation, and betrayal. It gets pretty heavy and tragic. There's more, but I don't want to get into spoilers, but I think I generally covered the major stuff. As always, please do your own research if you feel like you need to, and make sure you're in a good headspace before watching. Alright, let's talk about what worked, and you already know that we have to talk about the animation. I do want to quickly point out that I've seen people criticize the change in art style and overall style of animation and action compared to season 1. When it comes to the art style, I completely understand where these people are coming from, especially when you look at the art side by side. That realism that makes season 1 so unique is toned down. But I also don't mind it that much. It still looks gorgeous, smooth, and it feels dynamic. Speaking of dynamic, the action is crazy. What have they been feeding these animators lately? Because it is flashy and visually striking. And sure, while the first 30 to 40 minutes just was not my cup of tea, I love the striking contrast between those softer moments with the wild and crazy explosive action of the second half and the fight choreography. Several of these moments were so dynamic and kinetic. Like, I really was sitting there from time to time wide-eyed because some of the action was just so cool. Now, you already know I love the storytelling and emotional core of the movie. I love the dynamic between Reze and Denji and the entire conversation surrounding the two of them. It truly elevates the entire movie. I love the explosions and blood, but I love the human story of trust, betrayal, and disappointment. The depths this movie goes is so engaging. The music is good. I liked what was being blasted in the theater speakers. I think it matched the emotional moments and the chaotic action. But what got me was the sound design for the bomb devil. The sound of the snap coupled with the visuals was awesome. So those were some of the highlights that stood out to me, and you know we're always taking a look at both sides. So we're going to get into some criticisms about the film and I'll share my thoughts along the way. I was not surprised, well, kinda surprised, to see people say that the romance arc leaned too heavily into sexual tension and fan service, saying that this approach to Reze's character reduced her to a love interest rather than a more nuanced and tragic figure. First, I'm not surprised because yeah, there is fan service. The romance arc leans heavily into the sexual tension and the fan service, involving teens. These moments always have me saying, okay, what are we doing here? But at the same time, I am surprised at these critiques because 1, this has always been a part of Chainsaw Man. One of Denji's biggest motivations in season 1 was boobs. And 2, once you look at it through the lens that this boy stays being manipulated, it clicks. I don't like all of that, but Denji's desires are part of the tragedy. I think my issue with this is for season 1, all of these teen romance, sexual tension, not to mention assault, these moments are spaced out across 12 episodes. So I feel like there was a balance between these elements and the action and story progression. In the movie, all of this fan service stuff is really packed into the first act, almost uninterrupted. So I felt like it was front heavy and tiring. I think that's why it bothers me more here than it bothered me throughout season 1. Is it fan service? Yes. Is it unnecessary? No, because it's not just fan service, it's how this world shows how people like Denji are exploited. The next critique is kind of a sidestep. Some criticism said the movie caters to a male audience with its humor and visuals, and even that it feels immature, and I am doing air quotes. So here's the thing. I actually kinda agree with this, but hear me out, and hopefully I can explain this well. I thought the humor in the first half was pretty weak, and the focus on Denji's fantasies can make the story feel like a waste of time and shallow if you stop there. But once the story shifts and the tone gets darker, everything starts to recontextualize. Again, I couldn't care less about seeing teens skinny dipping. I really can't. But I understand why it's there narratively. This isn't about excusing it or saying these people are wrong. The film's tone mirrors Denji's growth. He starts immature and impulsive, but the movie keeps pulling him back into the cruel reality of this world. I don't want to over-explain, but no. I'm not saying that this movie or show is only for immature boys. That's what I'm trying to say. Because the movie and the story, as far as I understand it, is so much more than boobs and Denji trying to get a girlfriend. It's about what happens when your desires meet a world that doesn't care about them. Now, for a personal critique that resonates with my soul, I'm gonna need studios to stop putting everything in the trailers before I rant. If you made it this far into the episode and you did not watch the movie yet, and you also have not watched the trailers, please pause, watch the movie first, come back to the video. Because I think the movie would have been so much more impactful if we didn't know Reze was the bomb devil, right? I mean, I didn't know if we were supposed to know that going into the movie, but the trailers just put it all out there. To be quite honest, we could have figured it out. We're suspicious of everyone, but I think it would have been crazy to find out at that point in the movie. And if you saw the movie, then you know what point I'm talking about. I mean, what a reveal. I think I would have also maybe been a little more locked in with the romance in the beginning. Lastly, let's talk about accessibility. RezeArc is inaccessible to new audiences. This is true. While I don't think it's as inaccessible as the Demon Slayer movie that we talked about a few weeks ago, you do not want to start with this movie. There's no recap of season 1, there's no explanation of the world, the rules, or relationships. It assumes you've seen season 1. It's for existing fans who already know this world and want to see what happens next. This is the part in the episode where we talk about what to watch, general thoughts on the franchise, and my top characters. So RezeArc is more accessible than the Demon Slayer movie, and that's just because you only need to watch one season, which is only 12 episodes. I was able to knock it out in 2 days while working on a review and dealing with my mental health. The pacing, action, and storytelling are all very easy to follow. Just be mindful of the triggers that I mentioned earlier. General thoughts on the franchise. I actually like Chainsaw Man. I was initially in it for Pochita and the blood and guts, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, but I love the character designs for the devils and I love how complex the story is. You guys know I love trying to figure things out, and this movie just has me asking so many more questions. Finally, top characters. Pochita is my number one. I love me a cutie clouded in mystery. Aki, I love how complex the character is. I love the conflict, the willingness to operate within this system to achieve his goals. Makima, I hate her, probably will just hate her even more as the series continues, but I love how she's written so far. She's very interesting. And then there's Denji. He's not on my list, but he has potential, especially considering how we left off at the end of the movie, but I'm gonna need him to get it together before things get even worse for him. Now let's wrap up with my final thoughts. Is Chainsaw Man the movie Reze Arc worth your time? I think if you like the anime and or the manga, then yes. I saw some people on TikTok talking about the manga style and panels and how it translates to animation, so I would say yes. If you like the action and wildly flashy sequences, then this movie is exciting and visually engaging. If you like some romance, some heartbreak, and a little bit of an emotional drama, then there's a lot to like here. On top of that, if you like complex storytelling, and I know it might not seem like that from the beginning, but just give it a second, it's a well-told story that explores manipulation, a safe life versus a dangerous life, and the illusion of safety. This one might not be worth your time if any of the critiques caught your attention, like the art style, flashy action, and more immature, again, air quotes, narrative choices and humor. And again, the fan service. If it bothered you in season 1, then just keep it in mind because it's really packed in and I was rolling my eyes a lot. However, I don't think it's deal breaking. It fits the story, but it was definitely testing my patience before the tone shifted. Finally, this movie heavily focuses on Denji and Reze and their relationship. So if you're expecting the side characters to get more screen time, don't hold your breath. Power is basically not in this movie at all. Aki does have a little arc, and Makima is there, being diabolical, but the primary focus is Denji and Reze's story. Overall, if you're already a fan of Chainsaw Man, exciting animation, and don't mind how dark and tragic this story gets, y'all, I'm sure it gets so much worse, and I'm not ready. Then you should definitely try to catch it in theaters or when it's available to stream. All right, you guys. As always, a huge thank you for hanging out with me to the end of the episode. If you enjoyed hearing my thoughts on Chainsaw Man, the movie Reze Arc, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video. Last time I talked about the Black Phone 2, I saw that one for my birthday and I had so much fun. I finally brought the Shin Godzilla episode over to YouTube today as well. And finally, if you caught the Black Phone episode, then you know I mentioned an extra treat dropping today for Halloween. It was supposed to be a reaction video for Bring Her Back, and that did not work out well for me on YouTube. Don't worry, I'm going to work on it. But for now, you can hopefully check it out on Patreon. Don't worry, it's free. I'm going to keep you guys updated on the community tab, and I will leave links to everything on the screen, in the description, all that good stuff. And you know I want to hear from you. What did you think of Chainsaw Man, the movie Reze Arc? I'm going to be honest, I actually told my honey during the credits that this movie could have been an email. I was so bummed out, but it really was that first half, all of that teen romance. I just wasn't vibing with it. But the more I thought about the movie, the more my impression of it started to shift. Let me know what you think in the comments, and until next time, spread positivity, be safe, take care of yourself, happy movie watching, and happy Halloween. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.